So I decided, I'm going to wait a little bit, to go ahead and talk before I leave to go get my coffee today. That way, when I get back, I won't have to worry about it. I do have a busy day ahead of me. There are things that I have to get done, and I've been distracted with everything that's going on. Uh, I find it very concerning. I follow Anna Eskamani, who's an incredible woman. And she is a rep in the Florida State House for a district down in the Orlando communities of Thornton Park. And she's just such a great asset. So I should reference Maxwell Frost as well. And I had the opportunity to meet him, and I know Anna, and I know Carlos. Um, and it's such an intense fight. There's so many things going on. It is a hydra with a lot of heads, and people are so easily distracted, and we go down our own personal rabbit holes. The Donald Trump rabbit hole, where I just focus on everything Donald Trump. I've actually, you know I feel like I've done everything I can with him, and shit. I mean, finally people are paying attention, so there are other things that I could do. I mean, running is still a part of it. I don't know. So it's just I'm recalibrating, I suppose, some strategies here. Again, wear the glasses because it does help me think when I'm looking a certain way. Um, my thoughts are not as clear. And so, yeah, my brother committed suicide, and it was such a shock that I'm still, and I have to go back and remember, it was either 1990 or 91. I think it was 90. If I have to remember everything that happened, it must have been 1990. It was just in my life at that time, I wasn't really going anywhere, so it was almost like a wake up call, which but instead of really dealing with it and going through and sort of, you know, I guess I did the man thing, which was to kind of push it back and just forget about it. Not forget about it, but just kind of carry the load with me, and just kind of push it back. And just, it was never something that I really processed fully. Or I have and I haven't. There's just so many things, and it's so complicated. There's survivor, but the good thing was that I did speak with a few people, and my purpose was not because I really feel like I need to talk about this anymore. I actually don't. I've sort of made my peace with it, and everything that goes along with it. There's nothing that I could do. um it'll be there all the time, but how I relate to it, and how I'm not letting it manage my life or influence it in any major way. In fact, the way I manage my life right now is probably giving me better insight into exactly why it took place. But it was a very sad and unfortunate way for things to get done. In a way, my brother was considerate. I mean, it's interesting that I've had to deal with several suicides, not just one. And I have one close friend who had two that he had to deal with. One that was with a friend of ours when we were roommates. We were living in the same house. Um, the person who committed the act in front of my roommate in the basement during a party in, like, you know almost at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, if I remember correctly. He just picked up a gun and just shot himself. I think it was in the mouth. And I was upstairs, and I ran down, and I started yelling at him, at Andy, and said, "Andy, you're going to live. You're going to regret this." why did you do this? And I could see the blood coming out of, no, it was in the temple. It must have been the temple. Yeah, it was the temple. And I could see the blood coming out, and I could see my friend Steve, and he was wrapping his head with a towel, and we were calling the emergency, and he died. Um, it was weird because that day, wow, I can't, wow, haven't felt that in a while. Who we? That same day, somebody else who we knew, that was a customer at this Greasy Spoon that we all kind of congregated around, called Ernie's, uh, had actually died due to auto erotic asphyxiation. They found him like that. And it was about, almost 10 years later when the event took place with my brother. He was 27 years old, and I was 35. I was lost. I was really, and he was not like a chicken shit or a weak person in any respect whatsoever. In fact, he might have been a little bit like what I am right now. He's very adventurous. He actually he had a town named after himself, Carlos, in the jungle in Peru. Him and some other family members had thought about having, starting some farming out there, and he was one of the few that offered to stay in the jungle to be sort of like the nighttime security man. And he shared some stories with me about that. I wonder, what could have been. 20, he was so smart, so intelligent. Hmm. Hmm. Whew. Yeah. I didn't do this last night. I felt very empowered. I was joking that with the people that were in the conversation. Actually, it was sad because, well, one, it was an older gentleman, maybe about, well, older. He's still younger than me. It's like 13, 14 years younger. His younger brother did as well, and very close in age, much closer in age to him than my brother was in me. So, and this is just fresh. He jumped off a bridge. Uh, that seemed very like something very easy to do, And I remember hearing about that when I lived in New York. People, jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge, and jumping out of the buildings, and New York City and stuff like that when they lose their wealth and what have you. Um, yeah, and another one was, it wasn't that fresh, but it wasn't that old either. But an interesting group of people, all of them recovering from religion, and religion is a very bad thing. It really is. There's nothing, in my mind, good that comes out of religion. It is a control mechanism. It is a process that, people just don't like uncertainty. They just, and we have to be able to accept it. Without being able to accept uncertainty, I mean, we're just always going to be fucking screwed. We just have to expect. the unexpected all the time. There's really no other choice. And to think that it's for a reason is just a sick, warped idea. There's nothing for a reason. We just are. I mean, we have to put things in perspective and in scale. We're fucking nothing, but we create the importance ourselves inside of ourselves. We don't want other people to create our importance. Our importance comes from here, you know, but you have to believe in your body. You have to, believe in the strength of your own body. That's what you need to believe in, is believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, but not just in an arrogant way, or just kind of like a head up your ass way, but in the sense that you say, what can I do to make myself better? What can I do to make myself better? Can I stop eating shit? Stop drinking soda, stop smoking cigarettes, stop eating junk food? All these things that I know are bad for me. Drinking. Why do I want to reject the things that are good for me? What makes me do that? I'm not sure. I'm trying to, uh, you know, figure that one out. I haven't come to any conclusions on that yet. One of them was in Kansas City, which is very close to my old stomping grounds, and I'm sure it made her feel a little bit better. And she was younger, I think she was about my brother's age, actually 27. And there is a difference between how women process suicides, and she was married. And I did also later, after my brother committed suicide, not too many years after that, when I had this professional white collar job. I There was a woman who was sort of part of our little group of kind of people that kind of related to each other. We were like the oddballs in the office, if you will. There was one guy, I called him Shabby. His his name was Shabir, but he was from India, but had been raised in London, I believe, or something like that. And then Lynn, well, she was had like this German ginger girl, and it's just a little group of people from different departments that sort of found like some small common knowledge. But anyway, I think she had kids. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. I don't remember. But she was married, and her husband committed suicide right in the house, right in the middle of the living room. My brother, he was staying with my sister in Maine, in Bangor, Maine, and he was listening to Alice Donut. I think it's the bucket full of piss. Really, a very angry, ugly record. It's a very intense. That was one of the things that he was listening to at the time. I'm not saying that music had anything to do with it. This is much, much, much more complicated. I mean, it's a lot deeper, and it's not even worth, I don't know, understanding it, because there's so many unknown things that were playing out uh, in there. But he was staying with my sister, and it was in December in Maine. It was very, very cold. And he disappeared. And I'm really worried about him. And he was gone, a night or two. And of course, being cold and everything like that, that was a big concern. And my sister's boyfriend was a really nice guy. They're not together anymore. Um, he remembered that my brother showed him some sort of I'll say catacombs, not really, but in the basement of the large apartment building. It was like this huge apartment building in Maine. It was, I can't remember, maybe 8, 10 stories, and it was more wide than it was tall. Uh, and so, it had like this labyrinth maze in the basement of different rooms and things like that. And he kind of found a little corner and had a sawed off shotgun, but he loaded it with bird seed. And that way, you wouldn't have an exit wound coming out. I was very considerate in that respect. And I was crashing out in Missouri. He, well, I was just laying on the sofa, being a stone drunk or whatever the fuck I was then. And my mother came looking for me and told me that my brother was dead. And we flew to Maine. And that was something that set off a whole new life. From that point until a few years ago, maybe another 20-year time frame, which is something I'm still processing. um, it's an interesting situation, but yeah, not worth. I did sort of interrupt myself. I teased them, the people in the conversation. Now I was able to see. Oh, and there's another gentleman from Canada, and he was sort of the leader of the group. The one guy whose brother jumped off the bridge, I never saw his face, but I saw uh, Canada and Kansas City, and they were seeing me. And I joked with them, and I said, I really hadn't talked to anybody about this. This is something I'd said it when we were wrapping things up, and it was like for a couple hours. And I just said, I've never talked about this, and I feel like I've worked it all out. I've gone through it. It wasn't easy. I did it by myself. I feel okay now. I actually feel better than I've ever felt at any point in time in my life. And I guess I'm here to tell you, give you some hope or fear. And I kind of joked about that. So this is what you can become in the future. They got a laugh out of that. I think I did scare them a little bit. No, it was funny. We had a good time. I mean, good time, and everybody got to kind of get things off their chest, and it was very dramatic stories. But life is not fucking easy. And the only thing that I've been able to come up with, well, besides what I've been talking about, which is focusing on who I am, how I think, why I think, all these little sort of things that really help me understand myself. Plus, not bulking up, but just for me, it's like running is like kind of like the animal thing. It's like the lions run, and I have 2 legs. I have 2 legs. I mean, I'm supposed to run. I think that the 40-hour work week in a call center where you're just sitting down most of the time. That's against the our sort of natural essence. Of course, that doesn't mean that we can't change our natural essence, and we can become immobile and permanently obese. That is a direction that a part of the organisms can move off into. These sort of slower, dumber sort of versions of ourselves. They're bigger, and they just kind of just push buttons and things like Wall-E. If you haven't seen the movie Wall-E by Pixar that was produced back in the 90s, I believe. No, wait a minute. Maybe, or early No, maybe the early 2000s, somewhere around there. I'd have to go back and look, but it's a fucking excellent movie, animated. And there was a time when I still enjoy some animated movies, not all of them, but animation is not my thing. Not even adult cartoons for that much, just for a little bit. But I'm not. TV is not my thing anymore. It used to be. Oh, I was like a TV monster. That's all I did. Watch TV. It's like it's just absorb everything. Culture, movies, books, blah 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 blah. Social media, anything I maybe get a chance on. Blah blah blah. Yeah. But now it's different. Now I don't do that. Now it's a little bit more, instead of absorption, emission. You know, Actually, it's kind of funny. When I started on my weight loss journey, 80 pounds, if you're curious, uh, one of the things in the early stages, my power walks, and I would go out and walk, and I see people like just walk casually. It's not supposed to walk casually. You're supposed to push, push every time. Push. That's the sort of the message that you have to have in the back of your head. Push, 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 push. You don't want, but you want to be the person to push yourself. See, I don't like people pushing me. I like pushing myself. It's a big difference. Now, some people don't like pushing themselves. That's not good. That's not good at all. There's a complacency. If you don't push yourself, you're complacent. You're accepting things just the way they are. I don't know. I don't find that to be a very, hey, I'm not, if that's where you are, that's where you are. Comfortable in life, that's cool. Everybody deserves that, you know. The greed's what really gets me. How much do we need? I don't need a whole lot. I mean, I really would be so happy in a tiny house that I could just kind of protect myself but at the same time have access to people, because that's the one thing I hear people saying all the time. I hate people. I hate people. I hate people. I don't hate people. If I hate people, I would hate myself. You know, I mean, I hate thoughts. I hate the way some people think, but that's easy to change. I just have to change, I just have to be more open with how I think so that other people can hear how other people think. They don't like it. Well, they have to process that. But it's not my job to sort their shits. You have to sort your own shit. You know, that's a funny thing also, and I'll stop after this, is that, oh, actually, there's two things. When I was walking and walking fast, there was a time when I was still heavier where I was releasing gas. I was experiencing flatulence on my walk, to the point where I was joking about is that I had some jet propulsion going on in the process, and it was continuous. I mean, it was, it was so funny. I figured, but what it was just me fucking processing the shit out of my body is what it was. Then there was a time also when the clothes, as soon as I came out, I had this intense smell of ammonia. That was all the shit that was inside of me, supposedly. And I'm not actually, I don't think this is entirely true, or there's some kind of amino protein acids that were being burnt that emitted that smell. And and so it started to make me think, well, am I burning proteins that I shouldn't be burning? So I started to eat a few more carbs before doing anything, just to make sure. And that's died off. I haven't done that. Haven't experienced any flatulence when I'm running or anything like that at all. And then so the other thing is, when we're babies, the way doctors help mothers understand their baby's health, or the way mothers understand the baby's health, is by the quality of their poop. Well, I take a lot of pride in having poop hat tricks for the day. That's like a daily victory for me when I have a poop hat trick, which means I go to the bathroom and release drop three bombs in an hour's time. But lately, my diet hasn't been that good, so I haven't been able to manage that. But the little things in life are what actually bring me the most joy. And all these complicated things, I will not participate in anybody's birthday. I will not participate in anybody's wedding. I will not participate in anybody's funeral, for that matter. Unless it's an incredibly, incredibly close relative, like my uncle, my mom's brother. My mom passed away in 2005, July 1st. And speaking of which, today is her birthday. And I always much, much rather remember her birthday than her death day. And, my mother did a lot of things wrong, a lot of things wrong. And I think her entire life, she was just trying to atone. And one of the things that came up in the conversation last night with the group of people that I was speaking with was that, that um, the communication between parents and children is very, very bad. Very, very bad. And on whole, I'm sure there are some relationships that are very good, and I'm very happy for anybody that has a good relationship with their child. But I think that on average they're very bad. I know they were bad in my family, and I mean, I never really had an existential moment with my mother where we kind of talked and sort of talked about things. It always seemed a little superficial, and but she was a victim as well. I mean, she became an orphan, or not an orphan, excuse me, but her father passed away when she was 4. He died of pneumonia. And my grandmother in Peru couldn't take care of her. A single woman in Peru, in a third world developing nation. She was kind of like a my family there is, I guess you could consider, middle class in Peru, which is definitely better off than a lot of the other things. And that's where I really got to see poverty and different types of attitudes that really made me think just slightly differently. I think that that exposure and not being in the U.S. bubble my entire all the years of growing up, from the time of, like, say, 0 to 18, it was in between. Boom, boom, boom. I was like moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. I can't even remember anymore how many times I flew between the two countries, to live for a certain period of time. And that impermanence and that lack of repetition can save you from the behavioral conditioning that takes place in our society that is very, very intense. The indoctrination with the Pledge of Allegiance and religion and the Bible and all this stuff, and tying it in. Very, 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 very intense indoctrination efforts going on. And since they're not successful, they're trying to even be more intense about it, rather than realizing that it's actually not the way to do shit. But that's subject for another day. So I'm going to stop right here. I think I talked about enough about it, and I got some shit off my chest that was sort of, in the back there. Mention my mom, which was important for me to do at some point, which I could have forgotten, really, because my head is in a lot of different places these days, doing a lot of different things, even and my body too. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Like I said, the past is an illusion, the present is confusion, and the future is your decision. So have a good one. Stay safe.